Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Daily EPL Talk. Now, in this episode, what you will get to hear is all about the relegation aspect. This is what makes Premier League very unique because it's not just about the title race that people love, it's also about what's going to happen in relegation, who is exactly going to get relegated, and it has big implications as well, as some of you would already know who have been watching Premier League. A club that goes down, it's very difficult for them to come back. We have very few times seen that clubs who have actually come down in a particular season have come back immediately. It obviously has started happening a few times very recently just because the clubs know very well that if they don't plan relegation well, then they can actually go not just towards a downward spiral, but in fact bankruptcy. Portsmouth is the biggest example. So, anyways, this season is very, so far it's been 15 matches, but all the 15 matches, the relegation battle has turned out to be pretty interesting. Obviously, at the top half, there are only three teams that are currently vying for the title, which we'll talk about on another day. But on the relegation side, it's very interesting battle because if you look at the teams that are involved, and why you would say that okay, yes, there are only three teams that are in relegation, but here is what season by season, as I have analyzed, what I have noticed is that the margin of error for any particular position is 6 points. So, relegation, the margin of error is 6 points. Any team which is within 6 points of title race, European spots, or whether it's the relegation position, any team which is within 6 points, anything can happen in English Premier League. I mean, they say constantly anything can happen, any team can beat anybody, but it also matters for the position. Any team can beat anybody. So, in this episode, we will talk about each club, where its position lies in terms of relegation, as well as what's their strength and weakness, what exactly is going on with that club, and whether we see any hope, a tunnel with a light at the end or not. But before that, I would request you please subscribe, like, and share this video, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we will continue to post good videos, give you the content. We have been now 200 plus strong followers on Twitter, as well as we have a good increasing and growing, not that much, but we do have increasing likes on the YouTube as well. So please continue to give your support. All right, so let's get started now with the relegation battle. And obviously, like I said, I mentioned about the clubs which are right now in the relegation fight, which is Crystal Palace, Leeds, Southampton, Watford, Burnley, Norwich City, and Newcastle United. So, what exactly is going on? What's wrong? Let's try and understand each one of them. And for that, what I would do is let me share the fixture list with you. Alright, so in this episode, in this screen, as you can see here, this is the list that I had got together in terms of what really has happened for every club. What is the story behind the season? And matches are the best way to provide it. So, well, first let's start with the team which is at 16 points. Now, it's very interesting because the difference between Brentford and Crystal Palace is just 1 point. So, it's not that the other teams are way ahead, but it's just that within the 6 point of margin of error, you have Crystal Palace, Leeds, Southampton, Watford, and then obviously we already have Burnley and Newcastle, Norwich in the dump zone, as I call it. So, Crystal Palace, now after the defeat by Leeds United, Patrick Vieira had insisted that his team has been performing well, but they've been getting punished for not being able to take the chances. So, if you look at the matches that somehow Crystal Palace have managed to lose, Manchester United 1-0 loss, where probably they again failed to take their chance. Leeds 1-0 loss. Aston Villa a 1-2 loss. Many draws which were last minute. Like if you go back and look at the draws that they had, whether it was Brighton, whether it was Arsenal, These are all draws where they could have easily won the game if they had hanged on to it. And that's what Patrick Vieira is now getting frustrated about. That they have been conceding too many late goals. Too many, too many. And what could have happened if, let's say, they had retained those victories? And obviously, Palace has areas to work with as well. Against Leeds, they created 5 chances, and against United, they created 6, as well as at home to Villa. So, which was 7 chances. So, everything except Chelsea probably, in the against the Chelsea they had a very clear defeat, which probably was the first game that Patrick Vieira learned what Premier League is all about. But looking at the fixture list, right, they need to start gaining some results because whatever sloppiness that they have showed so far, it's not that they are a bad team. If they can somehow improve their sloppiness by of retaining and not letting in late goals, they actually can be a much better position. So let's look at their fixture list, right? They have Everton, Southampton, Watford, Spurs on December 26th, Aston Villa 28th of December within 2 days, and then after 4 days they have Burnley. So it's a pretty, sorry, my bad. It's West Ham, Norwich, Spurs, Watford, Southampton, Everton. So if you look at it, except probably Spurs or maybe West Ham, given their current form, they're all beatable teams, and that's something which will matter for Crystal Palace. Can they turn these late draws into victories? Next, let's talk about the Leeds. So, Leeds, what is the story so far? The story so far is that Bielsa's football has taken to the level that has brought Leeds United to some sort of relevance. I mean, who was thinking about the Giants Leeds before after 2002? We never thought they will come back because they completely were in oblivion. He is the guy who has brought them back into relevance, not just financially with the terms of valuation, but also in terms of the way they play the game. People want to watch Leeds, people want to buy their season tickets, but his impact has only taken them to a certain level forward. Now, I mean, we know that Premier League is pretty, I would say, ruthless. So it's going to be, they have lost some games. It looks like they're gaining momentum. They want to give it a fight. And obviously, the loss against Newcastle, sorry, not the loss against Newcastle, but the games at the Christmas are causing them some stomach churns because look at the kind of fight that they gave, which was against Brentford. Yeah, the 2-2 draw against Brentford, where they last minute scored the goal. Look at that fight and the kind of joy they got. It's because we don't expect that from Leeds team, but that joy was because they know they are in a fight right now. So let's look at their fixtures, right? They have an upcoming fixture against Leeds on December 11th, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I mean, they're up for trouble, but then this is where this fight is definitely needed. And if they can pull off any point against the next in their next 4 matches, and then Aston Villa and Burnley, if they can score some points, I think this will be a relegation scrap for Leeds this season, especially the Christmas period. And this will be the time when actually the team will get found out whether they will be going back into the relegation zone or whether they will be getting some points. So Leeds has the toughest fixtures of at the moment the way it looks like. Then let's talk about Southampton. What's the story with Southampton? Well, as Brighton's Neil Maupay wheeled off from a 98th minute equalizer against Southampton, Ralph Hasenhuttl had a very frustrated figure. Not just Ralph Hasenhuttl, actually, the whole team was in anguish. They were all, you know, simply down on the ground, dejected, because they have dropped 71 points from winning positions in the Premier League since Ralph has taken off. So any good work that Ralph has been doing at the moment, it's all coming tumbling down because the team just does not know how to retain those leads. And that frustration was clearly telling at the time at the post-match interview of Ralph, where he said that they have inability to hold on to lead onto the leads, which is becoming a habit now. And he in fact did some player pinpointing as well that goalkeeper should have done a better job. But let's look at the fixtures. What exactly? So we know the problem with them is holding on to leads, but what exactly is the fixture list looking like? So if you look at the fixture list, they have Arsenal coming up next, which ideally it should be pretty much on the balance because Arsenal are a team who are two matches lost on the trot, maybe three. Let's see what Arsenal had so far. So Everton they lost, Man United they lost, and Newcastle they won. So yeah, two matches on the trot they have lost, and they probably could win against Southampton. But the magic is Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Brentford, West Ham, Spurs, Newcastle. So other than all of these, on a given day for Southampton are winnable matches. So if they can somehow work based on what Ralph wants them to do, or Ralph can do a better job with his squad in terms of holding on to the leads and continue to play the style that they do, they can definitely come out of the relegation zone or the talk about the relegation at the moment. Then let's talk about Watford. So Watford had the most horrendous fixture list when Claudio Ranieri came in. I mean, if you look at the matches that Watford had so far, let's take a look at that. They have to be considered as brutal. Man City, Chelsea, Leicester, Man United, Arsenal. So all of these matches were really a brutal list of fixtures when Claudio Ranieri came in, and that is why if you see the fans at the end of the loss, 3-1 loss against Manchester City, I mean, who would be laughing when or giving a sigh of relief when you are losing 3-1? But Watford fans were. You know why? It is because they were expecting a much more brutality. They were expecting they'll be deep in the relegation zone when the fixtures came up after Claudio Ranieri came to join them. So coming out with a 3-1 with respectable defeat as well as a brutal fixture list, let's look at the next set of fixtures. So they have a game against Brentford, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Wolves, and West Ham, and then Spurs. So except the last game against Spurs, every fixture for Watford is now winnable, which means this is the time for them to amass the points, get the points. Will they be? Who knows? But they definitely have a chance of coming out of this relegation scrap. So, Watford, Southampton, Crystal Palace. I think I would say that Watford and Southampton have the best chance of coming out of that relegation scrap, but equally, I would say Crystal Palace as well. So, these three, this is their opportunity. This is the opportunity for these three to come out. And Leeds, anywhere they can keep themselves either close out of relegation zone or within 6 points of the other next six. That will be big achievement for Leeds. Big, big, big achievement. Now let's come to now the people who are actually in relegation fight, which is let's start with Burnley who are at the 18th spot. So this season is something where Burnley nobody had expected would actually be in the relegation. Reason they have a very stable squad, a stable manager, a company which had invested into the Cup Club very recently, and everything was looking good, but yet they find themselves on relegation. And Burnley as well as Sean Dyche still continue to say that this season can be different for them. This season they would not be in trouble and things are kicking off for them. But that's the toughest test now for Sean Dyche. Whether this positivity that he always shows or continues to show with himself, with his players, with his coaching staff, will that lead to another year of or another season of Premier League or not? And that's the big question that they have, because it's tough to be overcritical for this side because they haven't really been playing poorly, but the fact is that they only have lost only one of their last 8 league games. So it's not about that the fact that the fight is not being given, but the loss that they had against. I mean, if you look at the fixture list, right? Wolves draw, Crystal Palace draw, Chelsea draw, Southampton draw. City, yes, obviously expected them to lose against City, but so many of these have been draws which have really burnt them badly. So it's not that they have been losing badly, it's just the fact that things haven't clicked for them, and it's getting late now for things to click for Sean Dyche and his team. So let's look at their fixture list, right? Exactly how the fixture list looks for Sean Dyche. West Ham, Watford, Aston Villa, Everton, Man United, and then finally Leeds on Jan 2. So the list looks pretty good for them, except probably Manchester United. I think every other one looks winnable on their day. So Burnley definitely has to now start kicking in, and Christmas will be a good period where they could gift themselves with a few victories. Next, we come to Newcastle. So Newcastle till some time was completely a divided club, divided squad, divided fans, and now everything seems to be coming together, or at least it seems like as if it came together when they won 1-0 against Burnley. So has the season kicked on for them? We are hearing rumors that nobody wants to give them a chance in the transfer window because they obviously have want to protest in their own way against the ownership. And when I say they, means other Premier League clubs. And interesting part was after the Burnley game, entire squad, whether it was the fans, whether it was the match staff, the club staff, whether it was the reserve staff, everybody was on to the pitch thanking the fans because this seemed like a lap of honor for them that they have first gained the first victory of the season, which is pretty interesting that it was in the 15th round that they have gained the first victory. But is this the time when the season will actually kick off? Let's see at the fixture list. So the fixture list looks like this: Leicester, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Everton, and then finally rounding up with Southampton. Doesn't look like, except Southampton or maybe Everton, that they have anything to look forward to. So Newcastle are continuing to be in deep, deep, deep trouble. Very difficult to come out of relegation at the moment for them unless Eddie Howe can run its magic, and that will be a true test for Eddie Howe actually. And finally, we have Norwich City. So Norwich City changed their managers, Dean Smith, to Dean Smith from Daniel Fark, just because they knew that they, and this was very clearly highlighted by the 3-0 loss against Tottenham. They needed a change. And this, honestly, was bad on the scoreline, but not really bad on the match itself. The match, they were pretty much in control. They did not have to lose that badly. But it also highlighted the kind of job that Dean Smith has taken up. I mean, they are currently sitting at the bottom. Their squad looks unbalanced. Their recruitment at this in the summer looks like they had done enough recruitment to try and stay in the Premier League. Now it all fell badly for them, fell apart for them. And will they be investing more in winter? The previous experience doesn't say that they Norwich City is a kind of club which will invest in uh, winter transfer window, but will they do it? That's really the big question. So let's take a look at their fixture list: Manchester United, Aston Villa, West Ham, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, and again Leicester City. So these are all, I would say, definitely matches which, if they can put up a fight, some organization, they can win. They are not that bad. Norwich definitely has a chance to remain, I would say. So here is what I would say, right, to you. Leeds, if they can stay anywhere close to relegation zone, even if they get into relegation zone, as long as they remain within 6 points of the other clubs, they are good enough. They should not be completely way off from the other teams in the relegation. When I say relegation, it means the 17th position. They should remain within 6 points of the relegation. For Southampton, Watford, Crystal Palace, it's about, can you now use this fixture list to get out of the relegation zone? That's what I would say. Can you get out of this? For Burnley, it's about, let's kickstart the season. You have a chance now. Get out of the relegation zone. This is the time to get out. Newcastle, you are in deep shit. Just remain relevant. That's it. Norwich, get out of relegation zone. Yeah, probably, get out of the relegation or remain somewhere close to the 6 points. That's what I would say to every club. Remain relevant, especially for Leeds, I would say, especially for Newcastle United, I would say. These two clubs just remain relevant. This is the big test. I think this Christmas break is most for Newcastle and Leeds for remaining. Try and get some points and get out of the relegation zone if you can. How did you like this presentation? This is the time to let us know. Please do let us know. And definitely, we will talk about the European spots as well as the title race in our next episode. But how do you like this format? Please tell us. Thank you and have a good time.